How is it going right now? How do you feel in education right now?
You know what? There's a lot of things up in the air, I think, and I could imagine that is for everyone from K through 12 and even higher education and what that might look like. So um, it seems like there's some uncertainty on various levels. So yeah, just trying to stay calm through all of it, and how and see where the chips may land, if you will, and just prepare, but always stay positive.
As a former principal, still working at a
Mhm,
university, working with other people who are in school, because of the uncertainty, a lot of people, a matter of fact, I just spoke with someone today and said, my plans to go to college, it's not like I'm not going to pay back, but my plan was to go back to college or university to a graduate
mhm,
program. And I've got to see where the chips may fall. And knowing that you work to prepare students for their college prep, getting them ready for
mhm.
college. I'm sure there are a lot of emotions going on right now.
Where I currently am, over the course of my professional history, I have worked preparing students for college. As of most recently, I'm on the back end working with the Higher Learning Commission, so we do all of the accreditation work. Um, for colleges and universities, but the stress of college by itself previously has always created a little bit of anxiety. So I can imagine what that might look like now for those who are counseling students, in that direction.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know that Dr. Yahaira and I are speaking, but let me just tell you a little bit about who she is. She is a woman, an African American woman who has a
Mhm,
plethora of accolades that do need to be noted. She is a higher
mhm,
education professional with over 15 years of experience supporting student success. She has taught over 100 courses, mentored
mhm,
faculty, and now serves as the accreditation processes coordinator at the Higher Learning Commission. Holding a doctorate in higher education leadership from Trident University, her research focuses on college cost awareness, its impact on financial and career outcomes, especially for Black female graduates. Dr. Hall is passionate about empowering students to navigate educational costs and achieve long term successes. Dr. Yahira, there's a piece in your biography that just resonates. Because not too long ago, I finished my doctorate, paying it back. But how are people navigating this right now?
Well, so one of the things that led me to even explore the idea of understanding college cost awareness was being in the classroom with the first year students and interacting with them over the years and really being able to identify that they lacked um, some very key information as it relates to college cost. Uh, and many of the students were not clear as to how much it was costing them, whether that's per class or
Yes.
per credit or over the course of a certain amount of time. Um, that by itself, and I still see that to this day. Um, Having talked to other people through my own research, that I'm still able to identify students in that realm leaving high school going into college who don't have the understanding of the true cost of higher education. And so I ideally would like for I want to say this also, because I think it's important to note that
Uh-huh.
women hold the largest amount of student loan debt in the country. They hold about two-thirds of the student loan debt in the country, which equates to about $930 billion, of which Black women hold a significant portion of that, which now makes Black women the largest group of student loan holders in the country compared to their white female counterparts or male counterparts.
Okay, audience. Keep the biography up intentionally because Dr. Hall gives so much here. All right. And this is really impactful on to our Black female graduates. And I really want to discuss this. I think a lot of us are in that realm because we tend to go for our doctors. We tend to go for 2 or 3 degrees.
Yes.
And there is a psychological piece that goes along with that.
There you go.
I help people with their dissertations. So let me tell you,
Well,
I get a lot because I research in general just for the job that I'm doing collectively
yes,
and for this business that I do. But you literally state research focuses on college cost awareness and its impact on financial and career outcomes, especially for Black female graduates.
that's correct. Yes.
That is huge. Let's think of the wellness of the Black person in general, the Black educator, the Black
Mhm.
mom.
Mhm.
We've got a lot right there because we're talking
Yes.
about financial, occupational, emotional, physical, because our physical health up there when we're
That
dealing with
it impacts
cancer,
it,
we're
absolutely.
dealing high blood pressure, we're dealing with obesity,
Mhm. Mhm.
comorbidities out the yang. We're dealing
Yes.
with so much. And then we have that financial piece, dealing with our homes, and then
Mhm.
teaching. Most of us are in the teaching field or in medical field, pretty much
Correct.
one of the two.
Mhm.
A lot of us are. Your research has to be very impactful. Talk to me about that.
I said, "This can't just be my story, right? There are other people. This can't just be me that has these absorbent amount of student loans." It would be simplifying things if we just said, "Well, more Black women are going to college," right? And while that may be true and earning advanced degrees, and while there is some truth to that, we also have to consider what you mentioned, which is the intersectionality of race,
Mhm.
of gender,
Yes.
of socioeconomic factors, right? So where we come from, and then also considering whether that's social and economic mobility to where we want to go.
Mm.
So it's more than just there's an increase of the student population. We now not only have to we now have to ask ourselves, yes, these are Black women who are being educated, but why? Right. And so that is the iceberg, right? All of that. It's so heavy and it's a
Girl,
lot.
this is deep.
It
It's
is.
psychological.
Yes.
It is environmental.
Yes.
And the
Hmm.
environmental part of it and our social or societal part that plays
Hmm.
a role in it impacts the Black female a lot.
Yes. And you mentioned something in regards to the financial impact, right? So
Yes.
um, not having in my research, we discussed the conversation around finances within our own families. And so my research, we talked to women from the ages of from 20 to 60 years old, but we're seeing different trends within different groups. But there are some trends that remain the same across most of the groups. And that was that the conversation around finances was typically not had, right? The conversation around paying for college was, especially for my research population, I would say that's 40 and over, we didn't talk about finances in our home. That's grown folks' business, and you're not grown. Or either we'll take care of it, right? And then so all hands off, or we just don't have it, you know? And that was the extent of the conversation. And so, one of the things that I encourage families to do is have these conversations, these honest conversations about what a family is able to finance early and often. Because not knowing can obviously lead to over borrowing. But ultimately, when you don't know what you're working with and you bought into the idea of what I subscribe to, right? Which is at one point I bought into the idea, which is a theory called human capital theory, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, where it is a theory,
Mhm,
it is a
mhm.
fundamental concept within labor economics, right? That examines the economic value of education or skills learned. And it suggests that investing in yourself and your education will enhance an individual's economic value. I remember buying into that theory or that concept long before I thought about going to college. I remember, and I don't know if you remember seeing a commercial that said, if you graduate from high school, you will make $1 million more over your lifetime
Oh
than
my
if you
gosh.
didn't.
Yes,
I was like,
yes.
"Sign me up. Yes, I
Right.
wanna make $1,000,000 a year." Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
right?
and that wasn't the only one. I mean, they had multiple commercials
Mhm.
out there pivoting education in that manner.
So, yes, sign me up for $1,000,000 more over the course of my yes, I'll take 2 of those. Uh, yes, right?
Right.
And the thing about it was that you're like, if that's if I just complete high school. If I go to college, imagine how much more money I can make. And in my research, a woman said something that I just thought, oh my God, I felt seen. She said, when I
Mm.
went to college, I thought I had a lottery ticket, but not just any lottery
Ooh,
ticket, a winning lottery ticket. I said, yep, that's what I thought. I thought that somewhere down the line, because I just it was ingrained in me through just in general, right? General information that if you go to college, money will just start falling from the sky. You have made it. And then what happens, right? So you're thinking, I have this winning ticket. Let me borrow all this money because surely I will be able to pay it off
yeah.
with this winning lottery ticket, only to finish 4 years later, cash it in, and you find out that you've only won $1,000 when you thought you won 1,000,000. And you're borrowing based on the fact that you thought you won 1,000,000 and not 1,000, right?
Then we hit that
Uh,
psychological process of wanting to continue on with our masters. Or I have known some people who have 2 to 3 masters on top of
mhm,
their doctorate, or they have
mhm,
their bachelor's and masters, the EDS, and then their doctorate. Or they
mhm,
switch fields, kinda like I did,
mhm.
and then they have all these other certifications go along, and those are still financial obligations.
And what happens, right? The thought of paying back such an enormous amount of debt. Research goes on and on about the impacts of student debt. We talk about the fact that it may delay home ownership. We talk about the fact that it can delay starting a family. Research also talks about the fact that it can impact your credit, which can impact your ability to buy a home. And I
Yes.
remember back then they used to say, oh, college debt is good debt. I'm here to tell you that no debt is good debt. It's good
Alright,
debt.
we can
No,
repeat that one. We can repeat that one.
no.
But they still said
Do you
but they
remember
still
that? Like
said
they used to say,
yes.
yes,
Oh
they
my
did.
god. College debt is good debt. With people not knowing, if you don't pay that college debt, they will
Yes.
take that from you before they take the
Mhm.
credit card debt. They will take
Mhm.
that from you before they take the car debt. When I mention credit cards,
Mhm.
I'm curious how many credit card companies target the HBCUs then.
You know what? I don't have any data on that, but
Okay.
that is something worth examining for sure.
Yeah, because they already have the college debt.
I might not want to know the results of that actually. But that also goes into, right, the increase goes into your mental and your physical health, right?
Yes.
The amount of debt, it lives with you and there's nowhere to put it. Um, and how that again impacts your ability to pay your own debt, right? The stress and the anxiety that that may cause, whether again, that's sometimes things can be mental, but sometimes they manifest in physical ways. Some of these anxieties and these stressors. It may also impact how much you're able to help your child with their college process while you have all this debt. So it is important to again have these conversations. There's maybe not much that we can do because we've already accumulated this debt, but I will say for women who are considering going into to pursue their master's degree, even after completing, or even if they're currently in a undergraduate program, really think about what employee benefits might be able to, how you may be able to use those. Right, probably 2 months prior to deciding to get my doctorate, I had no desire to get it. I wasn't planning on it. There was no plan. I was not planning on it. I had no desire to go back to school. My employer said, we'll pay for that, right? And I said, okay, now you have my ear. But I did not find the value. I did not believe that there was going to be a return on investment if I would have invested in that degree. Now, granted, there is no such thing as a free lunch, and we know that. So I invested my time, but I certainly was not going to invest in the finance because I did not know if I was going to be able to reap the benefits of that. And so for that reason, I stepped back. So I encourage anyone who's interested in going to see if there's any employee programs, partnerships, or things of that nature where they can go, increase their educational attainment, but being mindful that they are the consumer. Long ago are the days where um, please let me into your college, right? We are the consumers. We get to say what it is that we're looking for and what it is that we want to learn. But at the same time, and you may have seen, I'm sure you have, it's all over social media, where there is a woman or a young man and they are glued to the screen and they are waiting to see if they got accepted into their dream school,
Yes. Yes.
right? And there's a
Yes.
ton of people behind them, right?
Everybody.
Just excited, everyone's excited, and then they click the button and they say, "Congratulations, you got in." And everyone's screaming. And while it is an opportunity to celebrate, you also have to think how many of those people are the people that are going to support you financially on this endeavor.
Yeah.
Chances are that person is maybe you and a few other people. Um, and so, really, this is your finances. This is, what ultimately thinking about your financial health at the end of 4 years and what you want that to look like. And I would recommend that to any student going into college now, having their parent talk to them again, honest and often about this, but also what do I want my financial health to look like upon graduation? Because that's going to impact all of the things that we've previously talked about. But one of the other things that we don't consider also um, is that it may impact our current career trajectory. In my research, when I interviewed some of the women, they talked about the fact that they needed to find a job right away because they have to pay these student loans. So they didn't necessarily follow in the path in which their degree was good for, if you will,
Yeah.
um, and that moved them further away from the job that they were hoping for because they had to take the job that was available to pay off these loans. And so those are some of the things to consider as well.
Audience, I think we have learned a lot today. Dr. Hall has given us a wealth of information, and I would hope that everyone would take heed to the suggestions that she has given to us. One of the things that I want to recap on is that what we're dealing with right now is pivotal. We're
Mhm,
dealing with meeting the needs of our community. And one of the key things is wellness, protecting our emotional,
mhm,
occupational, and our financial wellness. And Dr. Hall, your research is going
mhm,
to be pivotal. If you continue to do it, please do so. Let people know about it. This is going to be a lot of people are talking about it now. They're wondering, what am I going to do? Um, uh,
mhm,
what do our finances look like right now? We're having to make some
mhm.
pivots in the directions of where we're
Yep.
spending our money or what money we're borrowing, because we want to make sure that we're financially secure and able to live day to day.
I'll say one last thing. I listened to your interview with Lynn Stokes,
Yes.
and she mentioned something that was huge. She said, identifying where your destination is. That was as it relates to career exploration and that career changing path. But I would almost second that and saying where do you want your financial destination to be after 4 years? What do you want that to look like for yourself? Right? Same concept. Where do I want to be? What is okay to borrow? How much is okay to borrow? Have I done the career planning? Do I know what this job entails? Do I know what the starting salary is? Would that starting salary allow me to pay this in the event that I would have to take out any kind of student loan? So that destination piece, I was like, yes, that applies, I think, across the board.
Across the board. Thank you so much. Dr. Hall, you have been a blessing to us here at Cold Press
Oh,
Conversations. I thank you so much. I really do. This has been an
thank you
enjoyable
so much.
conversation. Like I said, you and I were just rolling, and we were like, "Uh-oh,
Yes.
it's getting time."
Yes, and the
But
time went by so
Like, you're like, "What?" It's all good, it's all good. But I thank you so much. We will continue to be in contact. Thank you very much for joining us on Cold Press Conversations, and may you tune
Abs
in to learn more.